Brian Preston, the money guy.
The first thing you're going to want to do is say, where am I in my journey to financial independence? Am I behind the curve or am I ahead of the curve? And we've done shows on what your number is.
Yeah,
so there's
absolutely.
actually resources out there to look at.
Even by decade. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, we give you sort of a spot check. So if you haven't watched those or checked those, go listen.
So people who are behind on the curve, even though you think you have an army of dollar bills, if you feel like you're still behind where you need to be on your financial independence journey, I would encourage you to go back and listen to what we said for the people building the army.
Sure.
Now, assuming you are ahead, on the curve or ahead of the curve, I think for buying a car, you still have the option of buying used, but this is the point where you now transition to where if you want to buy a new car, I think it's okay.
Sure.
So I probably have alienated a portion of the tribe who is thinking you never buy new cars, but I have to tell you what I have done in my life because I don't do anything hypocritical on this show. I do think once you have some level of success, it's okay if you buy a new car. You know what you're getting, but here's the things you do to protect yourself. You're not financing that car for more than 36 months. Now, here's the cool thing. When you do a 36-month loan versus a 48 or 60-month loan, typically the interest rate is lower. So you're actually helping your wallet by financing it less time. So that's good. It'll be paid down ASAP.
And another justification, if you are someone who's thinking about buying a new car, the last car that I bought for my wife was a brand new car because I know that our behavior is we drive cars for 6, 7, 8 years. So even though, we didn't go buy the used, cheaper version, we know that for the life cycle, a new car kind of matches that, where a 3 or 4 year old car might not have gotten us that same life cycle.
I'm gonna be nudging him to get 10 years, guys. Just so y'all know, that's where my last car was 12 years.
You notice I said this is my wife's car,
I know,
right?
I'm just saying we're gonna nudge you to get that 10 to 12 years because that's when cars really drive good, when they're paid off for like 6, 7 years in a row. For 9 years, you get 9 years of paid off life. That car drives really good. But and I want
my kids will be driving that car by then.
I want to transition because a 36-month loan is for a normal car, I think. Now, there are a group of you, if you're ahead of the curve, you're going to start getting that itch because you watch the commercials and you hear the word Jaguar. And you're like, man, I want to be able to say it fancy like that. It's not Jaguar. It's Jaguar.
Oh, yeah,
haven't you seen the commercials? So you start getting, the BMWs, the Audis, all these luxury brands, the Lexus and so forth. You start getting this pushes because remember, there's a whole industry out there pushing, man, you ought to reward yourself and have this moment. So if you are considering buying a luxury / trophy vehicle,
this is going to be a little bit of cold water. Get ready for this.
I want to give you some things to think about. And I'm not saying no. I'm just saying make sure you measure twice, cut once. This is not a no because I'm guilty of buying one of these vehicles, 2 of these vehicles myself. So the first thing is that, and this one, when we did show note prep, I told you this and you're like, wow. That's going to shock some people.
Most people are not going to like that.
I think if you've heard me give the guidance of I think it's okay if you have to do a 36-month car loan. If you're buying a luxury brand, I think the car has to be paid off within a year, 12 months. You heard it. I really do believe that, and I've practiced that myself. And the fact, because I understand, because I want it to be almost like a cash transaction. I haven't gone all the way to saying it should be a cash transaction, because you've heard me talk about in the negotiation of cars, sometimes it makes sense to do financing so that you can get an extra 1.5% to 2% off the purchase price, because there's some incentives for the dealers to work with you if you are financing directly through them. But I want that car paid off in 12 months. That's kind of big, isn't it?
So I'm going to say even a little different than that. If you can't pay off the car in 12 months, maybe you need to back down on the car you're buying. Is that kind of what you're suggesting
exactly
here?
Exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, I with luxury brands, I truly believe that. Okay. And here's the other thing. I want you, before you pull the trigger and make the purchase, I have some things for you to think about. I want you to make sure you're saving 20 to 25% of your gross income.
Yep.
I mean, because that's where you got to be saving that money for the future. You don't want to look back and wonder, why did I derail the retirement? What was the single cause? And you don't want to be some depreciating asset like a vehicle that kept you from reaching all of your goals. The other thing, and this is a personal thing, and I take it or leave it, but I feel like I have to share these things because this is what has been beneficial to me in my life. We believe in this thing called the abundance cycle, and you guys are the recipient of that, where I just love on you, give you this free information. The only catch is when you reach a level of success, I'm hoping that you'll come back and consider working with us professionally, but we really do just give it away. So I want to challenge you, if you are thinking about buying the luxury car, and Bo, you and I had discussions on this because I test drove the Model S
That's right.
Tesla twice because I really wanted a Tesla, but I kept coming back and thinking to myself, can I do this? Because I knew that I didn't have some of my charitable giving was not where I felt like it should be to buy a car that expensive.
Sure.
Plus, it just freaked me out to spend. I was not going to spend $100,000 on a car. But I think there is fruit of building abundance in the way you live your life too. So I challenge you, if you're doing the 20 to 25% for savings, also look at what you're giving to your favorite charities.
Sure.
Are you tithing? Are you doing the things that you're supposed to? And then let's come back and talk about Junior and your children and the fact, are you doing college funding for the kids? Before you pull the trigger on the luxury car, are you doing everything you're supposed to?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a pretty tough conversation to have too, right? Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Can't pay for school, but man, remember that car that I was driving 10 years ago? That thing was nice. Wasn't that awesome?
I mean, and there's some other, this is not in the show note prep, because I think about my childhood. All my friends whose parents had normal cars versus luxury cars, it's much more likely they'd let you borrow, dad's van with your friends when you're 16, 17 years old if it's a Ford Aerostar versus your friend whose dad's driving the Mercedes or a Range Rover.
Probably not taking
They're
that
not letting Junior take that one out. So, for your kids' benefit, there might be some benefit to having normal cars too.